As we know, a referee in football is necessary to ensure the rules of the game are followed and to maintain fairness on the field. But sometimes they decide to become the main villains, breaking fates, careers, and the history of entire tournaments. Today, we'll break down 10 cases where referees didn't just make mistakes, but destroyed football. Fans of Bayern Munich still recall the second leg of the Champions League quarterfinal of the 2016-2017 season against Real Madrid with great pain. This match is called the robbery of the century, and the reason for it was the Hungarian referee, Viktor Kasai. The first game at the Allianz Arena ended with a 2-1 victory for the visitors, so Bayern absolutely needed to win at the Santiago Bernabeu. In the 53rd minute, the Munich side earned a penalty, which was successfully converted by Robert Lewandowski. The Royal Club later equalized through the efforts of Cristiano Ronaldo, but 2 minutes after the Portuguese's goal, Los Blancos defender Sergio Ramos sent the ball into his own goal, putting Bayern ahead again. A little later, Bayern midfielder Arturo Vidal made a questionable tackle on Marco Asensio. The referee deemed the Chilean's foul worthy of a second yellow and a red card, but the replays clearly showed that Vidal played the ball cleanly, without even touching his opponent. This decision caused a storm of indignation, but Bayern was already forced to play extra time with a man down. In the 105th minute, the refereeing team made another scandalous decision. Cristiano Ronaldo scored his second, but he scored from a clear offside position that was very difficult not to see. He was almost a meter behind the defensive line. But that's not all. In the 109th minute, Real Madrid scored another goal. Marcelo broke into the opponent's penalty area and passed to Ronaldo, who completed his hat-trick. The problem is that at the moment of the Brazilian's pass, Cristiano was again in a clear offside position in front of an empty goal, but the refereeing team remained silent in this case as well. The final nail in the coffin was put by Marco Asensio, who scored the fourth goal to make the final score 4-2. Bayern failed to advance to the semi-finals, but if it weren't for the controversial decisions of the referee, things could have been different. An interesting fact, immediately after the final whistle, the infamous incident occurred. Vidal, Lewandowski, and Thiago Alcantara burst into the referee's room, showering Kasai with insults until they were escorted out by police. The chairman of Bayern's board, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, then stated, "We were cheated in a way we've never been before." History loves to repeat itself. On May 8, 2024, Bayern once again played against Real Madrid, and there was also a controversial incident with De Ligt's goal in the last minute of the match. In this case, the entire blame lies with Szymon Marciniak, who for some unknown reason blew his whistle early, calling offside before the shot was taken. This is a gross violation of the VAR protocol. According to UEFA recommendations, referees are obliged to let the play finish. De Ligt scored a clean goal that would have sent the game into overtime, but the whistle had already blown. Thomas Tuchel was furious after the match, calling it an absolute disaster, and the assistant referee's apology, which he offered in the tunnel, was no longer needed by anyone. UEFA also agreed that the Polish referee had made a mistake, and as a result, he was suspended from officiating the opening match of the Euro 2024 Championship. In December 2023, a real scandal erupted in the match between Manchester City and Tottenham due to a referee's decision at the end of the game. The match itself was incredibly dramatic, as by the end of the game, the teams had scored 6 goals between them, and everything was heading towards a high-scoring 3-3 draw. However, in the 94th minute, an event occurred that was discussed by fans and experts for a long time. Manchester City players started a counterattack, which resulted in the visiting defender Emerson fouling Haaland. Erling stayed on his feet, and the referee, Simon Hooper, allowed the game to continue, showing the characteristic advantage gesture. After that, Haaland played a brilliant pass to Jack Grealish, and the Englishman was going one-on-one with the goalkeeper. But suddenly, as Grealish was breaking away, the referee blew his whistle, calling the play back for a free kick. No one understood what had happened, as there was no offside. It turned out that the referee had blown his whistle after 4 seconds, but his decision became the cause of loud protests. The Manchester City players immediately swarmed the referee. Erling Haaland was so furious that his face became a viral meme template. The game was restarted from the spot where Emerson had fouled Haaland. Incidentally, in the 97th minute, Manuel Akanji fell in the penalty area after contact with a Tottenham player, but the referee didn't award a penalty. VAR also agreed with the referee's decision. While it wasn't a clear-cut penalty, the incident was indeed controversial. The match ended in a draw, and the City players and Pep Guardiola only stated that they didn't understand why the referee played on and then blew his whistle after the pass had been made. The most absurd part of this story is the aftermath. The head of refereeing, Howard Webb, admitted the mistake, noting that Hooper should not have stopped the attack. However, it wasn't the referee who was punished. Simon Hooper avoided serious sanctions, but Manchester City was fined £120,000 because their players had too aggressively surrounded Simon Hooper, who had just stolen a victory from them. On October 2, 2023, Liverpool traveled to face Tottenham. As early as the 26th minute of the match, the Merseyside midfielder Curtis Jones received a red card for a rough, straight-leg foul. In the 34th minute, playing with a man down, Liverpool should have taken the lead. Luis Diaz broke into a shooting position and opened the scoring. The linesman raised his flag, signaling offside. VAR intervened. The replay clearly showed that there was no offside, but the referee watching VAR, Darren England, thought that the goal on the field had been given and simply told the head referee, check complete, meaning the decision was correct.
Check complete, it's fine. Perfect.
Yeah. Off.
Thank you, mate.
As a result, the match continued at 0-0. The audio recording of the referee's conversation was later released, where you can hear the replay operator frantically shouting, "Stop the game!" But the VAR official replies that nothing can be done now.
Delay the game, to delay the game. Stop the game.
They've restarted the game.
Yeah, they've restarted. Yeah.
Can't do anything.
No.
I can't do anything. I can't do anything.
The league's official statement called it a significant human error, which sounded like a mockery. 2 minutes after Diaz's disallowed goal, Tottenham opened the scoring. Despite this, just before the halftime whistle, Liverpool equalized through the efforts of Cody Gakpo. In the 69th minute, the visitors were down to 9 men. Diogo Jota received a second yellow. Jurgen Klopp's team heroically held on for a draw, but in the final seconds, defender Joel Matip scored an own goal, and Tottenham won 2-1. As already mentioned, Diaz's goal was an inexplicable mistake by the VAR team. The blame here lies specifically with the assistant referees, who drew the lines incorrectly. If Diaz's clean goal had been allowed, the match could have unfolded in a completely different way. Liverpool even insisted on a replay, as the referee's mistake had been acknowledged by the league itself, but as you can imagine, there was no replay. The second leg of the Champions League semi-final of the 2008-2009 season between London's Chelsea and Catalonia's Barcelona remains one of the most scandalous matches in football history to this day. The first game at Camp Nou ended in a 0-0 draw, so the English side needed a win to advance to the final. The Blues were destroying Barcelona on the field. Essien scored an insane goal, but then a one-man show began. Evrebo ignored not one, not two, but 4 clear reasons for a penalty. Number 1. A foul by Dani Alves on Malota. The replay clearly shows that the last contact between the players, along with the fall, occurred at least on the line of the penalty area, which is already grounds for a penalty. However, the head referee, Tom Henning Evrebo, limited himself to awarding a free kick. Number 2. Later, Didier Drogba was going one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but fell to the ground after contact with Eric Abidal. The referee again chose not to award a penalty in this case. Number 3. A little later, Nicolas Anelka tried to knock the ball ahead of himself and break into the penalty area. But defender Gerard Piqué blatantly played the ball with his hand and eliminated the threat. Evrebo saw no reason for a penalty here either. Number 4. And the finale. A shot from Ballack hit Samuel Eto'o's hand. Michael Ballack, usually a composed German, but on that night, he ran after the referee halfway across the field, shouting right in his ear. Ultimately, Iniesta scored a saving goal in the 93rd minute, and Barcelona advanced. After the final whistle, Didier Drogba ran up to the camera and shouted to the whole world, "It's a fucking disgrace." A little known fact, after this match, Evrebo received so many death threats that he had to secretly change his place of residence, and the Oslo police protected him around the clock for several months. His top-level career essentially ended that same evening. 9 years later, the referee admitted that he wasn't proud of his officiating in that match. "I'm not proud of the officiating in the Chelsea versus Barcelona match, but a referee can make mistakes. 4 denied penalties and a red card where there shouldn't have been one. A referee can make mistakes, but not 5 times in one game." Otherwise, you couldn't even call him a professional referee who officiates Champions League matches. 2002 World Cup. The tournament hosts, South Korea, were creating a sensation, but with a huge amount of help from the men in black. The match against Italy in the round of 16 became a showcase for the Ecuadorian, Byron Moreno. Early in the match, the Ecuadorian referee Byron Moreno awarded a rather dubious penalty to South Korea for a challenge in the penalty area during a set piece. The Koreans failed to convert it, but Italy later opened the scoring from a corner. The hosts only managed to equalize late in the match and sent the game into overtime. In overtime, Francesco Totti falls in the penalty area after contact with a defender. It's either a penalty or just part of the game. What does Moreno do? He sends Totti off for simulation. The great Italian leaves the field in the 105th minute. Next, Damiano Tomasa scores a golden goal that would have sent Italy through. Moreno disallows it for an imaginary offside. In the end, late in the second extra time period, South Korea, with a numerical advantage, scored the winning goal against the Italians and knocked them out of the tournament, securing a spot in the quarterfinals. This match went down in history as one of the most scandalous World Cup matches. The most interesting part, karma caught up with Byron Moreno. 8 years later, in 2010, he was arrested at JFK Airport in New York. The former referee was trying to smuggle 6 kilograms of heroin in his underwear. He served 2.5 years in an American prison. Apparently, refereeing wasn't his only dirty business. 6 kilograms of drugs? He had them on him back in 2002. Just not in his underwear, but in his system. This is how Buffon commented on the news of the Ecuadorian's arrest, expressing the opinion of many Italians. Even years later, they never forgave the referee who, in their view, stole the dream of one of the most talented Italian national teams in history. We move just one stage further. The quarterfinal of the same 2002 World Cup, Korea versus Spain. A new referee, the Egyptian Gamal Al-Gondawar. But the same old story. The regular and extra time of the match ended without goals, but La Furia Roja had at least a couple of complaints against the head referee. In one instance, the Spanish were awarded a free kick. After a delivery into the opponent's penalty area, Rubian Baraja headed the ball perfectly into the corner, and it seemed he had opened the scoring. However, the referee decided to disallow the goal, judging that the Spaniard had committed a foul. If you look at the replay, it becomes clear that Baraja did slightly hold his opponent's shirt, but at the same time, Rubian's opponent was pushing him in the back. In today's game, such a goal would clearly have been allowed, as neither player committed a critical foul. Later, the fans witnessed a more absurd incident. Joaquin broke down the right flank and delivered a cross to Fernando Morientes, who headed the ball into the net. The assistant referee decided to intervene and disallowed the goal, arguing that the ball had gone out of play at the moment of Joaquin's cross. The replay, again, showed the opposite. The goal was absolutely clean, as the ball was far from crossing the byline. Be that as it may, the winner was decided in a penalty shootout, where the Koreans, with the support of their home crowd, secured the victory and advanced to the semi-finals. Almost immediately after the game, accusations of bribery were leveled against the South Korean team, as no one could believe that the referees had made so many mistakes in 2 games. And for the semi-final match against Germany, a Swiss referee, Boris Meyer, was appointed, who, unlike his colleagues, officiated the game excellently. The Germans won against South Korea with a score of 1-0. Chelsea and Manchester United played a very heated match at Stamford Bridge in October 2012 as part of the English Premier League. The Londoners were leading the table at the time, and the Red Devils were in second place. Sir Alex Ferguson's team started the away match very briskly. By the 6th minute, the score was 2-0 in favor of United, thanks to an own goal by David Luiz and a goal from Robin van Persie. It seemed that victory was already in the bag, but Chelsea didn't give up and seized the initiative. Towards the end of the first half, Juan Mata scored from a free kick to reduce the deficit to a minimum, and early in the second half, Chelsea equalized thanks to a precise header from Ramirez. The match was becoming more and more interesting, but at one point, the referee, Mark Clattenburg, decided to completely ruin it. When Ashley Young was going one-on-one with the goalkeeper, the Englishman fell to the ground after contact from Branislav Ivanovic. It's hard to see on the replay if there was contact, but in any case, from the Serb's movement, it was clear that he was trying his best to avoid contact. Clattenburg confidently awarded a free kick and sent Ivanovic off for a last-man foul. That's not all. A little later, Chelsea's forward, Fernando Torres, was attacking the Manchester United goal alone. The Spaniard knocked the ball ahead of himself and then fell to the ground. The referee deemed this as simulation and showed Torres a second yellow card, which turned into a red for him. Even if simulation did occur, referees very rarely give a yellow card for such an incident if it happens outside the penalty area. In this case, however, Clattenburg didn't hesitate to give a second yellow card. From the 68th minute, Manchester United played with a two-man advantage. Ferguson's men managed to score the winning goal, but here too, there was a refereeing error. The right back, Rafael da Silva, took a shot at the goal, and the forward, Chicharito, got a foot to it and sent the ball into the net. The replay clearly shows that at the time of the Brazilian shot, Chicharito was in a clear offside position. The Mexican was returning to the field after being behind the byline, but the refereeing team wasn't bothered by this. In the end, Manchester United won 3-2, and Chelsea suffered a bitter defeat. The result? 2 questionable send-offs and 1 unfairly awarded goal. Manchester United ultimately rose to the top of the table and, at the end of the season, became the champions of England. In a 2022 World Cup qualifier, the Portuguese national team traveled to Serbia. By the 36th minute, Fernando Santos' team was comfortably leading 2-0, but the Balkan side fought back in the second half and restored parity. Towards the end of the match, the Portuguese had an excellent opportunity to make up for the conceded goals and snatch a victory. The Portuguese captain, Cristiano Ronaldo, received a pass and, with his first touch, directed the ball towards the goal. But the ball was rolling very slowly, and a defender cleared it off the line. João Felix, arriving on the follow-up, couldn't score, hitting the same defender. The problem is that the replay clearly shows that the ball had crossed the goal line after Ronaldo's shot, but the head referee and his assistants failed to see it. Unfortunately, the VAR system was not used in this match, and the game ended in a 2-2 draw. Ronaldo, in a rage, tore off his captain's armband, threw it on the ground, and left the field. It might seem like nothing serious, but at the end of the qualifiers, Portugal finished second and Serbia finished first. As a result, the Portuguese ended up in the playoffs. If Ronaldo's goal had been counted, Cristiano's team would not have had to be nervous and participate in the playoffs, where anything could have happened. However, the Portuguese did manage to qualify for the 2022 World Cup. The discarded armband was picked up by a firefighter at the stadium. It was later put up for a charity auction and sold for 64,000 euros. The money went to the treatment of a 6-month-old Serbian boy with spinal muscular atrophy. Thus, a referee's mistake saved a child's life. In the final match day of the 2013-2014 Spanish League season, Atletico Madrid traveled to face Catalonia's Barcelona with one clear goal: not to lose. Atletico had an excellent opportunity to break the hegemony of Real Madrid and Barcelona and win the league title. Diego Simeone's team was 3 points ahead of Barcelona in the table, but in case of a victory, the Blaugrana would have won the gold medals due to a better goal difference. The Catalans managed to open the scoring in the first half thanks to a cannonball shot from Alexis Sanchez. In the second half, Atletico's defender, Diego Godin, scored with a header to restore parity. Several controversial incidents occurred later in the match. In one of them, Barcelona's defender, Dani Alves, delivered a cross into the opponent's penalty area, after which the ball rebounded to Lionel Messi. The Argentine fired past goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois, but the referee, Mateo Lahoz, disallowed the goal, ruling that Messi was offside. The problem is that the ball had rebounded to Messi from an Atletico defender, Juan Fran, so the refereeing team had no grounds to call offside. Later, Diego Godin, in an aerial duel, pushed Gerard Piqué in his own penalty area, who immediately fell to the ground and began to demand a penalty. Lahoz ignored the Barcelona defender's complaint, although the referee could have easily pointed to the spot. In the end, Atletico held on for the necessary 1-1 draw and won the league title, creating one of the biggest football sensations of the 21st century. In 2023, Mateo Lahoz retired from refereeing, and in January 2024, the former referee made a strong statement. "In my career, I made mistakes against Barcelona 3 times, and the most serious of them was the match for the La Liga title in 2014. My team and I made the wrong decision. We didn't see that the ball came from an opponent. This mistake cost Barcelona the title. After the game, having seen the replay, I apologized to the coach. I also remember how Lionel Messi couldn't hold back his tears after losing the title, and that's why it was my most serious mistake against Barcelona. I apologize to the fans of this club." And now, let's talk about 2 referees who blew the whistle to end the game early. First, a funny but wild case at the Africa Cup of Nations. The referee, Gianni Sikazwe, blew the final whistle in the 85th minute. The coaches and players were in shock, but after a long argument, the referee finally agreed to continue the game. But the absurdity didn't end there. Sikazwe showed a very controversial red card to the Malian midfielder, Elbel Al-Toure, and then prematurely blew the final whistle again in the 89th minute. This time, the referee's decision was final, and no amount of argument could change the situation. It was later revealed that the referee had suffered a heat stroke and had simply lost track of time. He was taken to the hospital directly from the stadium. But the case from 2024 with Real Madrid is far more scandalous. A match against Valencia. The score is 2-2. The 99th minute. Brahim Diaz delivers a cross into the penalty area, and while the ball's in the air, the referee, Jesus Gil Manzano, blows the final whistle. A second later, Jude Bellingham scores with a header. The goal is disallowed because the match is over. Bellingham ran up to the referee shouting, "It's a f***ing goal!" for which he received a red card after the game. This decision cost Manzano a 2-match suspension, and Real Madrid fans called it the most disgraceful end to a match in the history of La Liga. Well, on that note, our top list of cases where referees ruin football has come to an end. We've seen how referees can influence the outcome of matches, and sometimes their decisions become real catastrophes for teams and fans. But as always, referees are human, and even they can make mistakes. It's part of the game, but we hope that over time, mistakes will become less frequent. And which of these cases, in your opinion, were the most epic? Or maybe you remembered other moments that could have made our list? Write about it in the comments. And, of course, don't forget to give a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new episodes. See you in the next video. And remember, football is not just about referees' mistakes, but also about the incredible moments on the field that we love this game for.